Ruchika from CleverTap, and today I have with me Heather Redling, who heads marketing for Legoland. Heather, can I please request you to introduce yourself further to our audience?
Yes, as you mentioned, my name is Heather Redling, and I work with the Legoland Dubai marketing team. I've been with Legoland Dubai since it was a giant hole of sand back in 2014, so I've had the pleasure of seeing Legoland Dubai come to life here in the region. I've been in Dubai for 8 years, and my marketing career started about 10-12 years ago.
10, 12 years, that's a lot. So Heather, could you tell us how this journey started for you and how it's been so far, or maybe share some key learnings and highlights from this journey?
Yeah, so my journey was quite an interesting start. I went to school to be an animal trainer, so my undergraduate degree is actually in biology. So I pursued that passion, became an animal trainer, but while I was in that area, I became a spokesperson for the company and developed a passion for the company's brand values, the company, educating people about animals, and it made for a very natural shift into marketing. And once I had this great opportunity to join the marketing team, I really started trying to understand the bigger business. So at that given time, I was in a sales role, but I didn't just focus on sales. I tried to understand the grander scheme of the business. So I went from sales to strategic marketing to our e-commerce team, where I was tasked to design the e-commerce platform for the entire business, to then managing our B2B online platforms. So I had a 10-year span with that company, and then took the opportunity to move abroad, and where I landed in Dubai. And in those, I've had 2 roles since being here, and both have been leading the overall marketing team. So I think a key learning for me is while I was in all my various different roles, I just didn't focus on that role. I understood how that role fit into the bigger business. I think it's very important for businesses or for people to understand your brand, what that really stands for, understand, your target market, and understand all of the different aspects of marketing, not just be siloed in your area.
I totally agree with that, and it's really interesting to know that you started as animal trainer and now marketing head of Legoland. Like, super interesting. Can you recall of any instance when you made a business plan and it did not work out the way it was supposed to be, and how you handled it? I think you can.
Yeah, I think, let's be honest, I think that happens for a lot of us, hopefully not fairly frequently, but, it's we all go through it. For me, I think one of the key things is, if you're going to do an initiative, have an objective. If you don't have an objective, don't do the initiative. And part of that objective should be something measurable that you can, measure that performance on. So, I've done activities where, for instance, I created an augmented reality platform. It was very, very cool. I had an objective, but I didn't have, targets or sort of measurable results for it. Really, really cool platform. We used it for a couple of trade shows, and then it kind of sat on a shelf and never got used again because we didn't have clear measurable targets. So definitely the objective was there, but that second half wasn't there. So I think that's really important, especially in a world where technology is constantly evolving. I think a lot of marketeers feel pressure to have the coolest, latest, fanciest product or app or whatever out there. And I think before you go and invest the money and your own resources, what is your objective for that, and what are the results you want to get out of it?
So the technology bit brings me to my next question. So I want to understand, while this technology keeps coming, a lot of technology are coming every day, every moment, and the marketing landscape keeps changing. So how do you keep yourself updated and try to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, I think that's tough. I think, obviously the given, read, make sure that you're out reading industry articles and so on. But I think, you have to go beyond reading, and I think you have to have relationships with people. You have to, talk to people outside your industry, inside your industry, that can give you, firsthand experiences of, that does it work, and their experiences on it. I think that's very important. But I think then also you have to keep in mind who is your target audience, and what is your brand? What does your brand stand for? So just because company A is using that great platform doesn't necessarily mean that my company should invest in that. I'm all for staying ahead of the curve, but it has to make sense for your brand and it has to make sense for your target market.
Totally. So one shoe doesn't fit all.
Exactly.
So I'm going to close this by asking you if you have any tips or any thoughts you would like to share for your fellow marketers or maybe aspiring marketing leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've said, I think it's really important that you understand the wider scope of marketing. Just because you're starting off as a digital marketing exec, find out what your brand team's doing, find out what your promotions team's doing, find out what your sales team's doing, because that ultimately is going to make you a better marketeer if you understand the whole marketing landscape. So don't limit yourself just to your area of expertise. Second, I definitely think you really need to truly understand your brand. You could be the most brilliant digital marketer, but if you don't understand the brand you're working for, it's not going to be effective. So, truly understand the brand that you are working for. Embrace it, live it, breathe it. And finally, I would say find mentors. I told you I went from animal training to leading marketing teams. I did that by finding mentors, and it's people are like, well, how do I find mentors? I think it's one of those natural things. Sit and listen. I look back, I had 3 big mentors, and they were really the sales ladies that hired me. When I got there, they were, quite frankly, the same age as my mom. But I sat with them, I had lunch with them, I listened to their stories, and that's how I really grew. Both professionally and personally, by making sure I spent time, with these ladies and really listening to their experiences and trying to grow and add on to that.
So then you have some superwomen in your life. Would you like to name a few?
Yeah, I definitely will give these 3 lovely ladies credit. The 2 ladies that hired me were Leisha Duarte and Ann Herbanis.
Okay.
And they were leading the sales. So Ann was leading domestic sales and Leisha was leading international sales. So Leisha was really one that sort of introduced me to the world and all of the different markets and their tendencies and so on. And then a little further on in my career, I met a lady by the name of Lisa Goswell, who also took me under her wing a bit and definitely helped my career along.
I think I'm going to reach out to those ladies. Okay, so I'm going to close this here. Thank you so much for contributing.
Pleasure.